To those here in the audience to our January 3rd, 2023 public hearing on the FY24 proposed budget recommendations. I'd like to start the meeting by first thanking the members of our Budget Advisory Committee, Mitch Gluck, the chair, Melissa Mack, advised by Julie Lampinen from the board, Mr. Dick Eaton, David Leal, and John Schaumloffel. Present before you this evening are available administrators, budget managers to support their budget. Principal Cocolette from Highbridge Hill, Principal Dr. Pogozowski from Scenic Regional High School, Principal Fondas from Boynton Middle School, Craig Reynolds from our Department of Facilities, and Matt Ballou from our Technical Department. Behind me, we have the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, Melissa Gray, our Business Administrator, the mastermind of our budget, Beth Baker. Regards to our Board Chair, Rachel Anderson, Board Vice Chair, Julie Lampinen, Michael Pellerito, Board Member, and Ariana Walsh, our Clerk. I will not read all of the aspects of our presentation to you. You're very capable, but I would like to look at the district initiatives page. This is slide number 3. We should make note, by the way, that we have 3 brand new principals in our schools, our middle, elementary, and high school, not new to administration at all, but this is a huge year of transition for us here in Messinic. And I'm just like to applaud them silently for some great work. What we've done here is kind of a brief reflection on the process or the progress we've made on what's working. At the deliberative session, you will have a much more developed presentation. This is just kind of a Reader's Digest version. Same with slide 4, district initiatives continuing in each of our departments or budget managing sections. Proposed warrant article 1, which is slide 5, makes note of the available positions we have on our board for the upcoming fiscal year. In addition to, we will be electing a moderator. Please, we encourage you, if you choose to run for these positions, to give us a call over at the SAU or drop by for your candidate documentation. And we'll be publishing that window of time sometime in the very near future. If I may go to slide 6, which is our enrollment slide. So, as my hair grays, I can attest to this. We are aging as a state. The school enrollment all over the state of New Hampshire is declining because our state is aging. With that said, if you look at some of the trends that we have, in particular, October of 2020, where we hit our low point for a number of years, we have recovered to 918. That is, I think a testament to the engagement in our schools and the quality of instruction that continues to improve day by day. But you do see this, this decline throughout the state. Slide 7 measures cost per pupil, and this is an interesting slide. It's not a basic math problem. The size of a school or a building enrollment. It's not that you divide the number of, or you multiply the number of students by a certain dollar figure, or class size. You have a certain number of staff and how many students that you can have. We have a lot of specialized instruction in our district, as do many districts. Transportation plays a role, especially in rural New Hampshire. But you can see where the state average is and where Messinic sits and where many of our neighbors sit as well. Our recent graduates When I first arrived here, it was made abundantly clear to me that the community wanted students to have an opportunity to do what they wanted to do, and that was not necessarily pursue a college education. I think it's interesting to note that 44.5% of our students went to 2 to 4 year colleges, and 53.7% went directly into the workforce or military. When we publish our vision of a graduate work, again, that has been made abundantly clear to me as I talk to members of the community from all stakeholder groups. We want opportunity for our students to do what they want to do when they leave our schools. It is not necessarily a college education. In slide 9, I think this slide truly highlights how good our budget managers are at managing what they are allocated. The green column is the voted budget in each of those years, and then the red column, it reflects the actual, what we actually spent. It is interesting to note and important to note, as you look from FY19 to FY22, that red line grows taller. And the reason for that is we have trimmed year after year from our voted on budget to truly reflect a needs-based budget. Therefore, there is less of a delta between what has actually been voted on and what is actually spent. Slide 10 is reflective of salaries and benefits. Again, budget and actual. We're a people organization. We don't have fleets of trucks and several buildings. We have lots of people. We have 1,000 children that need a quality education, and therefore the lion's share of our budgeting is salaries and benefits, not like any other school district in the country. So once again, the green column, what has been budgeted in salaries and benefits, and what has actually been spent in the red column. I also think, and if I may, we have been trying to make our wages more competitive with neighboring communities to attract the best and the brightest and keep the best and the brightest. And this year's budget is also a reflection of that. In slide 11, or on slide 11, again, a representation of a needs-based budget. We looked at actuals in the area, for example, of tuition reimbursement for staff. We budgeted it in FY19, $60,000. 23, we brought it down, and those decreases are a reflection of actual usage. Special education private tuitions is a particularly impressive line, as well as we have provided more opportunities for students within our schools, i.e. board certified behavioral analysts and others, to deal with behaviors in our buildings and prevent those students from having to, more students from having to go to out-of-district placements. Slide 12 is reflection, again, another view of salaries and benefits, and I want to compliment Ms. Baker. She tells me she's not an educator, but she's really good at explaining these figures in many different ways for those of us who have different learning styles, right? So you see here, I'd like to point out the FY23 salaries are 47% of our budget, and benefits being 26% of our budget, and how those things have changed, or the benefit piece has changed from since FY15. Slide 13 is very illustrative of how those benefits have impacted our budget. Again, much like the population of our state, our staff is aging. As I look in the mirror every morning, that the number of gray and white hairs that increase on my head is proof of that. And for that reason, many of us require more care, health care in particular. At one point, we were quoted by our provider an 11% increase estimate for FY24, but our actual rate increase is 15.1%, which is not something that we can control, except to endeavor to move all of our employees to consumer-driven healthcare plans. And for those of you who aren't quite sure what that is, excuse me, these are healthcare plans that are designed to support, have staff support themselves or be mindful about the cost of their health care. And you will see that in our presentation for our MESA, our paraprofessional contract, as well as when we discuss increases for our non-CBA staff and moving to consumer-driven healthcare plans. In slide 14, this is again another driver of our budget, something we have absolutely no control over whatsoever, and that being our contribution to New Hampshire retirement. It is not an option not to contribute to New Hampshire retirement, it is a requirement. It's particularly interesting to me that in 2012, the state contribution towards New Hampshire retirement was eliminated. And when it was and New Hampshire retirement system was created in 1977, they paid 40%. The state paid 40%. That is certainly one of those things we referred to as downshifting of responsibility. This year, our upcoming year, our rates are going down slightly to 19.64%, but nevertheless, this is a significant driver of our budget. In slide 15, you see our, there's the bottom line number, $20,794,129, a 5.2% increase. Since I arrived here in 2019, we have been presenting either less than 1% or 1% budget. But if I return back to earlier in the presentation, we have shaved our budget every year down to a truly needs-based budget. And now we are dealing with inflation and these cost drivers that are significant, that are not a part of our doing. Excuse me, stuck. Again, if we go to, now we're on slide 16, this our proposed budget summary again speaks for itself. But I'd like you to note that the differential from last year's budget of $773,318. Ms. Gray, can you help me with what we discussed this afternoon? I'm stuck again on this number, because this was, I think, a very insightful observation. Because I can't hear you in the auditorium.
Maybe now. Can you hear me now? There we go.
Excellent.
There we go. Just a little glitch. So that number, $773,318, is a differential in the items that are not in our control, that salary and benefits line. And that's a significant part of an increase, of the increase in our budget.
It's on now. There we go. Okay. Yes, and so you can see in the far right-hand corner, we have a couple of line items to point out to you. Non-salaries and benefits, that regular programs, that increase there reflects largely on the English language arts materials we'll be purchasing for our elementary school. Okay. So, am I just need, there we go. Okay, we're good. We're good. I think we have a cable that might have seen its better time. Okay. Excuse me. Under operation and maintenance, I think that's a significant line for you to look at as well. $137,340 increase. That's of course for electricity and and other fuel. 19.3% increase. Also, something that we really have little control over, as we are, like all of you are, and like I am, as I filled my oil tank this weekend or last week for $703 for 240 some odd gallons. Again, a really good teaching slide, slide 17, the FY24 general budget by category. And again, if you look at remainder at that bottom box, $1,628,000, that is really the only part of our budget that we have control over. The rest of it is collective bargaining agreements, benefits that we cannot not offer, increases in transportation, increases in healthcare costs, increases in utilities and fuel. Out of a $20 million budget, there's not much flexibility there at $1.6 million. Let's talk about salaries. Excuse me again. 46% of our budget dealing with current employees and programming. We've moved a teacher and a paraprofessional out of the grant department, both the federal grants of IDEA and ESSER, as are required. Added those into our budget this year. We've increased our stipends for things like what you hear outside here, basketball and other, to be more in alignment with the actual time and effort put into these extracurricular or co-curricular activities. Added a transition coordinator stipend for our high school and other to support students with disabilities as they move from level to level. And next year, Dr. Pogo is going to have the pleasure of having a NEASC evaluation, and we have, of course, added the accreditation coordinators' salaries or stipends, because there's a significant amount of work involved in that process. And of course, again, you see that healthcare increase 15.1%. Again, the talking points continued on slide 19. These things really speak for themselves. Slide 20. Again, a great teaching tool. If you look at salaries and benefits here in this pie chart, we've also taken, you see the $63,056 for books. This is our English Language Arts project at Highbridge Hill. We need to replace and increase some of our tech access points as we increase the use of technology in our schools. The electricity, that one really kicks me, $121,000. And we have, it has been brought to our attention by our coaches and some members of the community that we needed to invest more money in our athletic programs to create a safer situation for our students and to make sure that we were replacing and repairing items as needed. So there's a bit of a bump there. I'll also note that we've used a budgeting system between Boynton Middle School and the high school where they're collaborating on athletic budgeting, so that in one year, one item might get replaced at one school that, we're kind of prioritizing replacing large ticket items. So I think this strategy will benefit the entire district going forward. Again, notes on the budget increases. I see that lovely figure of 15.1% in healthcare, moving the para and the teacher out of the grant, the increase in stipends. We've increased our substitute pay so that we can be competitive with other communities. And then there were teacher lane changes that are part of a collective bargaining agreement that all of you voted for last year. And when we look at staff turnover and salary pressure, When I arrived here, we had a consultant working in our business department, Dave Jack, who was a very reputable retired business administrator and had been someone that the district had reached out to on many occasions to support the district with different issues with turnover in the business office. And he told me, you need to stop the bleed at the SAU. You need to figure out a way to stop the bleed at the SAU, because the organization will not go forward if that doesn't stop. And so this is our effort here at looking at, and you'll see more notations on the increases for our non-collective bargaining employees. Slide 26, again, transportation increases. This is all contractual, and we're doing very well in this area. I might tell you, we locked in with our bus company, I don't know, 3 or 4 year contract, no, 5-year contract with a 6 or 7 year extension. And many of our neighboring folks have not done that. So I think we really benefit from the rates that we contracted with. Sped transportation, again, these are students with disabilities. If they require transportation because of their disability, we are required to provide that. And of course, our co-curricular activities. By the way, when we talk about full-day kindergarten, if the full-day kindergarten warrant passes, we'll have roughly $70,000 savings in transportation, because we will not be transporting students midday. More notes on the budget increases, again, electricity, the books and print media, athletic replacement, technology, access points, etc. The non-collective bargaining agreement, salaries and benefits. This is what has occurred here in Messina for a number of years. We are obviously obligated by our collective bargaining agreements, and our non-CBA folks have most often received a 2% increase each year. We have not kept up with rate increases in other industries. Example, for weeks and months I drove by Dunkin' Donuts in Milford and saw $15 an hour starting salary for a Dunkin' Donuts worker. And I wasn't starting even custodians at that rate. So we have two objectives here: to elevate our salaries, which have lagged behind market rates, while asking employees to switch to the consumer-driven health plans with a lower district allocation for the single 2-person plan. The raise for our salaried employees would be a 5% raise, and the 6% raise for our hourly employees. And you can see more data on that. The healthcare plan. So we're asking our employees to pay more for their healthcare, at the same time providing them with a boost in salary or wages. So slides 25 and 26 are really for those of you who are have a particular interest in adequacy and how our schools are funded, whether it's through the federal dollar or for the state swept tax or local dollars, local revenue. And if anyone has questions about slides 25 or 26, certainly we can come back to that for our business administrator to get deep into. And again, let's go to slide 28 so you can actually see. I'm putting myself in the place of a taxpayer here as I look at state funding. You can see in FY21 what the state was providing for educational funding, and where we are, the estimate for FY24. And I will read this out loud. The district has lost approximately $1.5 million in state aid since FY21. With aid decreasing and less funding and less fund balance being returned due to the leaner budget, there will continue to be more pressure on the local tax. Again, I'm on slide, where am I? Slide 29. You can see revenues here delineated from FY '21 to the current proposed revenue. The numbers speak for themselves. Ms. Gray, slide 30, if you could talk a little bit about our grant-funded supports.
Just make sure there we go, we're in business. So there are two slides here that I'll chat about. The grant-funded supports here are talking about ESSER 3. We were the recipients of a COVID relief-related grant, ESSER, several of them actually, and this third allocation was 1.8 million and a little bit more. We've taken those dollars and really put them to work to offset some of the pressures that would have been general budget pressures. Some of the things we've been able to offer are summer programming, increasing professional development for teachers and staff and administrators. We have a number of positions in those grants. A couple of those we've mentioned tonight are moving from grants to general fund. All of the positions will eventually be generally funded. On this slide, you'll see, slide 31, things that we've done for this specific FY24 budget. Continuation of hosting the budget. We have begun a huge flat panel installation for our teachers, which brings our learning environments forward with technology. We will finish that in the grant. We've got some Chromebooks that are aging out and are up for replacement. We've moved that into the grant. Chromebook repair and damage replacements, that will be here. There's a significant $55,000 rooftop ERV for this particular building that needs to be replaced. That will be grant funded. Document cameras, software and program licenses, and general materials and supplies as needed will all be grant funded for FY24.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. So, on slide 32, let's talk about the default budget. Whoops, did I skip a slide? No, okay. Hearing in the auditorium. There we go. There we go. All right. So the FY24 default budget is $729,000 plus, more than the FY23 voted budget. It's based on all of our obligations minus the one-time expenditures of FY23. So let's get into slide 33, which is the actual budget. The proposed budget is $20,794,129 with a default budget of $20,493,495. And of course, the perfunctory language of the warrant. Slide 34 talks a little bit about the warrant that's coming up, which is the MESA contract. Again, salary increases to be competitive in the current job market. Our previous starting wage for a para without a degree or experience or certification was $12.95 an hour. And I think we're starting at $14 now plus some change if this contract is approved. We've also asked them to switch to the consumer-driven plan. We were able to designate 2 out of the 4 required professional development days as mandatory, which helps us with some of the mandatory trainings we have to do for folks that work with students with disabilities. And really, beyond that, there was no material language changes in the contract. You can see on slide 35 the actual wage, the increases, healthcare increases, and the totals for years 1, 2, and 3 of the contract. Like our teachers, we were able to negotiate a 3-year contract with this organization. That is a huge cost savings for us, whether it's the time of our staff sitting in negotiations or the cost of the attorney involved in the negotiations. It's also a great big morale boost for our folks that we have that kind of confidence in them. So proposed warrant Article 3, again, this is the MESA contract. I won't read that to you. And proposed Article 4, again, to more perfunctory language if Article 3 does not pass. The capital reserve warrant article, and there are actually, that's warrants 5 and 6. You can see once again where we're looking to add some dollars here in this chart format, or actually our current, I lied to you, not on purpose. These are our current balances in the capital reserves. And Article 5 is reflective of the addition of 50. I'll use Rachel's, but you gotta turn me off here. Or unplug it, it's off. I don't know why I'm getting feedback. Let's try that.
That's not feedback.
Well, it's humming. Okay, we're almost done. I'm gonna move over it. How about that? Okay, there it is. Found the sweet spot. Warrant Article 5, the capital appropriate, looking to add $50,000 to the capital reserve for the maintenance capital reserve. And as our buildings age, certainly we are seeing some issues that we need to keep up with. Some of you may have seen the facade of Highbridge Hill Elementary School, our beautiful Highbridge Hill. The sidewalk is in disrepair, a bit of a tripping hazard, as well as the cement columns in front of the building. That's one of the items that will be taken care of by money from the capital reserve. Food service capital reserve, again, we are looking to make sure we keep up with the needs of our kitchens, the dishwashers and other. We'd like to add $10,000 to that capital reserve this year. Article 7. So, we have surveyed the community. It is by far the most attended survey by all factions of the community on whether or not there is a need for full-day kindergarten. We are one of 3 or 4 districts in the state that continue to have half-day kindergarten. Instructionally, it is a practice that is not supported by the research, and what we're learning now is that our community 83% of our community is in support of full-day kindergarten. I want to be very clear that this does not mean that we are eliminating readiness. We are not eliminating readiness, okay? We are looking to add full-day kindergarten. This will eliminate the cost of $70,000 in transportation midday, and the total dollar amount for the addition of a teacher and a paraprofessional to an additional $59,909. That is the proposed warrant article number 7. Again, Article 8 and 9 are the usual legal language for doing business, giving us permission to do business going forward. Slide 43 is the historical tax rates. Again, the numbers speak for themselves. And then you actually have a breakdown of the tax impact for each of the warrants on the final slide. Once again, I want to thank Ms. Baker for disaggregating all of this data so that we can all understand it, so that all of you can make the appropriate decisions for your home, your family, and your community. We are here to answer any questions you might have. Yes. If you could speak into the microphone so that because we are live streaming this event. Thank you, Mr. Romerl.
On Article 7, is that amount net of the 70,000 savings in transportation?
That amount does not,
Yes, it does.
it does, yes.
So it's really 129,000, and we're going to save 70,000 in the process.
That is correct.
Okay. On the slide where you have the capital reserve amount, you list 21,000 being added for the food service, but the warrant article is only 10,000?
I'm going to refer that to the back row here.
Okay.
So what you see on slide 38, page 38 here up on the screen, is the FY23 addition. So for FY23, there was $20,000 placed in the healthcare contingency, or capital reserve, excuse me, and $21,000 placed in food service. For FY24, there are two amounts proposed, $50,000 for maintenance and $10,000 for food service capital reserve. Those $20,000 amounts were last year's additions.
Okay. And then you had two pie charts, and I'm sitting in the second row, and neither of them are legible. One of them's black ink on blue, and on the other one, the font is too small to be read. So those are just edits to make.
Appreciate the feedback. We will address those.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, if there is no other business this evening, this is our agenda. We appreciate everyone coming out. Please drive safely.